and then give it on to Brian. Sales manufacturing.
There's it.
Call meeting
I'll put a round
order.
slip on there.
Let me the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Marcy, could I have a roll call,
Sure.
please?
Brian,
Here.
Lexi, here, Justin.
Here.
John. Jeff.
Here. Great, thank you. In a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Brian, aye.
Lexi, I.
Justin, aye.
Got it.
Jeff, aye.
Here's open it up now for citizen comment. If anyone would like to address the council regarding anything on the agenda this evening. Marcy?
Nope.
Nope. I'll go ahead and close the citizen comment at this time and move to a motion for approving the consent agenda. Any questions on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Brian, aye.
Lexi, I.
Justin, aye.
John, I.
Jeff, aye.
Motion carries. Move on to committee report, HR committee. We met and talked about the handbook and made some changes. Made a system where we're going to review the handbook on a quarterly basis going forward. So anything that would come up in between can be addressed at those times, so it kind of continues to evolve. Anything else from anyone who was at said meeting?
No, I think all the changes appropriate to what we had
So,
talked about. So
Right, we'll have it at the work session, so just to kind
for a
of
final review and then.
correct, and they'll bring it back to the 10th for adoption.
Great.
And as I promised, I'll put together a summary sheet of the major changes, because as we all know, a lot of that stuff was labor law that we can't change. So thank you for your patience over the past 18 months.
It is a quality product.
It is really good. It's a good update.
On the economic development report, and we will go ahead and start with Jason from the Greater Dubuque Development.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Jason White, Vice President of Business Services with Greater Dubuque Development Corporation. And unlike last time I was here, when I kind of gave a generalized report of a lot of our activities, I have a very singular purpose, or maybe dual purpose tonight. I have a couple things for you, one of which is listed on the agenda about a summary of our info action visits that we performed with existing businesses last year. What you received in advance was our summary of the 270 visits that we did last year. So not all those visits were done in Piasta. So what I'm coming tonight with is Piasta specifically. So hot off the press, had this morning. So I barely have even looked at it. So. And I think the one nice thing is this is did I get enough for everybody? Okay. We can get two, just for,
Yes.
I can read one for bedtime.
Extra credit.
So this is something new for us. So Piasta is kind of the guinea pig. So usually we just do our total summary for everybody, right? Whether it's a visit in Dubuque County or across the border, we do a couple. And Wisconsin and Illinois too, and we just kind of put it all together like you had. So you're kind of the guinea pig here, so your feedback is going to be helpful, but it's also in addition to fulfilling the promise that I said we would do. Hopefully, it's also an attempt to try to enhance our service to every community that we work with in Dubuque County. So I'm just going to go through this a little bit. We're going to see how it goes. Like I said, I looked at it today. There were some corrections I needed to make based on the data. Dan McDonald, our Director of Existing Business, started this, and then Jenny Pearson Brandt finished it out. She's our marketing person. So community perceptions. So we ask a question. And actually, this is the last question in the survey. So we'll start with the last question in the survey, which is in the blue box. And that is, we asked businesses, and total 18 here. 18 of the leading employers in Piasta were visited as part of this. And there's about there's about 70 questions that we ask. So it's a pretty intense, in-depth survey. Some of them finish it ahead of time. Some of them do it on the spot when we meet with them. A lot of stuff. If they don't finish it ahead of time, when I sit down with them, we take the full hour a lot of times, and it feels like a marathon once we finish. But we ask a lot of things, and this first question is, again, the last question on the survey, ironically, is what do you believe are the top priorities that the community should focus on going forward? And there's like a laundry list of like 15 items. And the most commonly answered were these 5 that were listed. So housing amount, the amount of housing stock and the affordability of housing stock was identified by 61% of the employers. Next up was talent attraction initiatives, which was 56%, childcare 50%, arts and entertainment venues 44%, and passenger air service 33%. Top community strengths were identified as quality of life, amenities, market size, location, customer loyalty was another, and employee work ethic. A good workforce attribute there identified as a strength. Barriers to growth, workforce labor pool, population, market size, capacity, and air service transportation. Should add that these were done between July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Area businesses ranked the following. This is on the far right of that first page. Top 3 weaknesses of doing businesses in this market as workforce labor pool being 1, housing amount and affordability being the 2nd, air service being the 3rd. And then sales levels, area businesses reported that their sales level during the last year, 53% said increasing, 29% stable, 18% said decreasing. Market share levels, 41% said their market share is increasing. A lot of times I see this as a really important barometer for our economy, because even if sales are going down, if their market share is increasing, that's a really good thing. It means they're competitive in their industry. 59% said stable. Nobody said their market share was decreasing. 53% said that they reported plans to expand in the next year or modernize or innovate. That's an often common one. They're investing in new technologies, new equipment. Job creation, 56% said that they plan to add net new jobs versus 44% said they would not. Recruitment challenges, 94% said that they did report recruitment challenges. I think that was a little higher here than what we saw overall from the data set. Workforce index, productivity of the workforce was ranked highest among the different ratings there, higher than stability of the workforce, and quality availability was ranked the lowest. In terms of ease of doing business, this one a lot of times does attract interest by local governments. You can see there a scale of 1 to 7, 1 being low, 7 being high. In terms of ease of doing business, City of Piasta in this case was ranked 5 overall out of 7. So, and then county government slightly higher, state government also a little bit higher, federal government much lower. So I'll say just based on a few of the cities that we've looked at, it's about in the middle. It's not the highest and it's not the lowest as it relates to the city ease of doing business. So gives you a little bit of barometer. We haven't looked at all of them, but it's about in the middle. Utility services all ranked pretty high. Electric was the lowest. Alliant got docked pretty good by some of our employers because of rate increase, not surprisingly, and a few other reasons as well, but mainly because of the rate increase. And In terms of public services index, public services are all ranked pretty high overall. The lowest was housing, and housing was, and this was a different question. So it was the one before, the first question I said to lead off my report tonight. Housing was listed among a whole different other factors, and it was seen as a priority by 61% of the responses. Here, it's a different question. It says rate housing amount and affordability on a scale of 1 to 7. It was ranked 2.91 out of 7 by the 18 employers that we visited. So that was less, and it was less here than I think overall in the subset. It was very rare to see anything rated lower than air passenger service. Although maybe that number ticks up a little bit after today. But nonetheless, public transportation, air service, and housing were the lowest. Fire, police, ambulance all ranked very high, and everything else was sort of in the middle. I kind of went through this already, but just the key takeaways. Dan was kind enough to kind of provide some key takeaways. Of the things we haven't mentioned yet, childcare was scored very low on the public services index, a 3.66 out of 7. And I think pretty much everything else was mentioned. So yeah, so that's, could have just cut to the chase and went to the back page right away, to be honest, but it's more fun to go through it all, I guess. So that's a summary of the 18 visits from this last year. Happy to take any questions or comments or concerns or anything else in between.
So Jason, in your conversation with these businesses, obviously talent attraction, labor workforce is amongst their top. Do these businesses give any suggestions or any thoughts of something that we might be able to do to help stimulate that?
Well, I think one of the things we'll see when the next part of my report, which is our next gen survey of young people, investing in quality of life amenities is a big deal. So I know that you're doing that right now. Park, for example, trails, things like that. So that seems to be desirous for their employees. Now, we didn't talk to their employees, we talked to the employers. So our visit with them was a lot about, training, upskilling, things like that. So NICC came up a lot with certain employers, and we've turned those specific issues over to NICC, and to their credit, they are reaching out to those employers right now, talk about how they can do a better job of providing workforce, training and people into their programs, things like that. But I think for Piasta specifically, your investment in infrastructure was welcome. Your investment in quality of life and amenities, certainly welcome. There were individual issues, obviously you're aware of access and so on through the industrial park and so on, those issues did come up, right? Not enough to identify it as a major issue or trend, but necessarily nagging the issues in the community that impact them. Maybe that impacts talent, I don't know, but certainly from a day-to-day business operating standpoint, it does.
Jason, on the public services index, what were the questions specifically related to community planning and zoning building?
So
how are they worded?
Yep, so every one of those questions is
The same?
Yeah, rate the quality of this service on a scale of 1 to 7. Okay. It's a little bit wonky, to be honest, because, the origination of this survey was a different vendor than we currently use. That vendor sold out and we kept the questions. So there's some things on there, it's like, is that really a service? Like housing, for example, it's not a service, but it's a community amenity that they rate scale of 1 to 7. But all the other questions under 2, they are rated factors rated on a scale of 1 to 7. So zoning and building permits, scale of 1 to 7. Community planning, things like that. So that's why I always say, one of our communities tends to put a lot of stock in that ease of doing business question for the city. And they like almost obsess over like, you have to constantly know what that number is. I always say, Dan and I always kind of say, well, that's important. It's also good to take a holistic approach of those services, right? I mean, we've had people that rate the building department, community planning really high, but they rate the city low for one reason or another, right? Or vice versa. So it's good to look at this not in a microcosm, but look at it in summary to get a full picture of your community.
I think the workforce productivity scoring so high is interesting and good. Compared to the entire survey, that wasn't one of their top 3 or 4 on the whole area. So that really kind of pops out for Piasta. That's something to be proud of.
Certainly don't think there's anything on there to be ashamed of.
No,
Um,
I didn't mean that.
Except the air service.
Yeah,
That'll come up next year. It stays.
yeah. Hopefully we can have it rise.
I think behind the super target,
We can probably
we
squeeze
could
one
do
in,
A landing strip.
so
just a thought,
that would
or
really
just
up
Piazza
our
Street,
air service.
once a day.
Open it up.
Goes out for a second.
Yeah, but then the budget next year, build an airport, right?
The terminal, the backside.
Yes, it will be.
It will be, yes, it will be, the terminal.
No, we're just trying to fly DBQ right now, so that's gonna keep
Right.
things moving, hopefully.
Was there anything specific to the workforce labor scene, that seems to be the snickety part of this for them? That's at least the gist I'm getting.
What's that?
The workforce, the labor pool availability in the city of Piasta.
Get them in. Yeah.
Are they looking at this? Are these blue collar jobs, so they're looking for a labor pool that they're not paying the wages that somebody can afford to purchase a home that's being built?
We have been hearing that a lot, not just in Piasta, but whether it's banking people or developers or whatever, that more and more young people, we see that just based on interest rates too. I mean, cannot afford to buy a home right now, right? So they're either living with their parents longer, or getting an apartment, right? So affordable, so that whole part of the question, affordability is a challenge for a lot of people right now across the board. And from an employer's perspective, I think it's also across the board. But I think for them, it goes deeper than that too, because we see this in other communities too. It's very difficult to get people from Dubuque to go travel outside of Dubuque for work, right? And, whether it's Piasta, whether it's Cascade, whether it's Dyersville, we hear that from employers a lot. And then what naturally gravitates to is public transportation. There's no way to get people here. And so there've been different things that have been tried over time that have not been sustainable. So I think people are leery about coming fishing in that pond again. There's an enterprise program right now that ECI has. We're trying to find a couple of employers that are willing to start a van pool. That they have a grant that will pay for that, but so far we haven't had any takers by employers. So I think it's a complex issue. The housing affordability, yes, an amount, yes. Getting people out here, yes. So I think there's a variety of different factors. Training, education. With the community college down the road, how do we bridge some of the, gaps there? So I think it's kind of a multifaceted thing. We'd love to have a silver bullet that just said, got it done, but there's really no silver bullet in this report. But this housing affordability thing does percolate, I think, throughout. So.
It's good timing for us doing our housing study, and that's why we're doing it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious because I remember a statistic, and maybe it's a couple years old, that 10% of Piasta workforce lives in Piasta. And 90
It's a little less than that.
Is it
Yeah.
less than that now?
Yeah, it's low.
Okay, so it's going the other way, yeah. Okay, that's a unique challenge. I mean, it's just a unique, we're more of a bedroom community for Dubuque than, and people are coming from Dubuque and Dyersville and other places to work here.
Right,
So it's-
and the mortgage, the interest rates are not scaring anyone. I mean, our building permits continually show that over and over again. Every year, we are just.
Right.
Like,
But our single family homes are high dollar value in comparison to the rest of the county. Yeah, lower cost, affordable owned things. We don't have that mix as much. It'll just be interesting to see what the housing study tells us.
Yeah. I did get some, just since you mentioned that, I did get some unsolicited but still appreciated information today. So Joe Callahan, who sent me an email today, he saw that I was on the Piasta agenda and put together, he said that he's got a number of people in his units that are less than 30 years old, 18 to 27. And he echoed what I just said, the high interest rates, cost of development that have been made home buying challenging for that demographic in particular. That he does have a fair number of people, he counted 26, that marked themselves as students graduating or for an internship. He gave me some information about the employers that a lot of these folks work for as part of the application process. Some put it down, some don't. So you got people ranging from John Deere to River City Logistics to IMCO. You got engineers, you got a lot of banking, healthcare, people that work in Dyersville, people who work in Piasta, people who work in, Bodine Electrics on here. But no, his units aren't populated with people who are working in Piasta. There are some on there, but not majority, right? So, but there's a broad range of positions and employers that are on the list. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. Second thing I wanted to share is our findings from our next gen study. This is a very simplified version of that. So we surveyed last fall, early winter. Young people in our market under the age of 40. And asked them about their preferences in a community. And in preparation for this meeting, I probably should give you a little background of that. So we opened up the survey on November 1st, closing on December 15th. We've reached out to higher education, high school seniors in Dubuque County, young professional groups, access to DubuqueJobs.com investors, workforce investors, distinctively Dubuque alumni, Opportunity Dubuque participants, Dubuque Works partners, anyone who had a desire to weigh in on the survey. And we had 70 persons in the 52068 zip code, we asked them to identify by zip code. And there's two things that are noted here. One is the green line, which is the perception that that person has on a scale of 1 to 7, I believe. Sorry, my reading glasses for these. Scale 1 to 5. It's 1 to 5 what they perceive to be each of those factors as a strength in the greater Dubuque region. And then the upper boundary, upper line, the purple blue line, is what they want to see in a community, right? So you can see here, for example, access to quality healthcare was their top ranked factor for what they want in a community. So that kind of surprised us, right?
For under
Young
40
people.
Yeah, for a young,
Yeah,
That's just surprising.
yeah, Brian, you in particular, probably just that background probably really surprised us. And really, I mean, nothing really stands out as like innovative, right? I mean, good schools, low crime rate, variety of restaurants, you know, affordable health home insurance ownership, which we talked about, access to affordable health care, natural features. There's a lot of, again, you get kind of getting into that quality of life type stuff. And then down below, what they least value, you know, obviously we fund a lot of things in our community, like casinos, but it's also the thing that young people value the least in a community. So we have both of our casinos are on our board of directors, and they saw this, and they were not surprised. I mean, if you look at what's, you know, Q Casinos investing in a lot of family-friendly entertainment right now, so a lot of the things that they're doing right now are motivated based on young people and family-friendly entertainment. So, but you see things that, you know, maybe we may or may not value. I mean, I'm over 40 now, so I'm not part of the young demographic anymore, but there's things on the bottom that I value that young people don't necessarily value in a community. You know, religious worship, minor major league sports teams, low cost of public transportation, access to public transportation, country club memberships, casinos, right? So, and then you can kind of see everything in between there. So that is, you know, this is based on the responses of 70 people that call 7752068 home. So for your information.
fantastic.
And then the last thing, just some news today, again, I referenced it before, that November 4th, Denver Air has announced that they will be providing a air connection to Dubuque, or to O'Hare from Dubuque.
Not available yet. Lexi tried to book tickets
tried to
and they're
book
not
today.
available
Oh,
yet.
you did?
Yeah.
Did you? What date did you put in?
It was January.
Oh my gosh, okay.
I was an advance. I just wanted to see what it was like.
What name is still loading that
Yeah.
one? So yeah, starting November 4th, Denver Air, they're a regional airline owned by pilots. In fact, the guy who spoke today, thought he was a company guy, and at the end he said, "I'm a pilot and I'm flying the first flight." So, so we're excited about that. We have a grant from the federal government, SCAD-STI is what it's called, Small Community Air Service, something or other. And that provides a minimum revenue guarantee. So again, you know, Dubuque didn't have a whole lot of leverage when it comes to attracting air service right now. So we had to pull some levers to try to get somebody here. And this is a 7-day-a-week service. If we have an 80% load factor on a 50-seat plane consistently, the minimum revenue guarantee is spread out for a long time into the future. If we fall below that 80%, closer to 60, we burn through that pretty quickly. And then we as a community will have to figure out how to make up that financial gap. So that's the risk reward that we have at this point, right? It's how the game is played. It's not how we like it, but certainly at this point, we're excited to have them, but it's a use it or lose it service. It really is. So we're going to find out pretty quickly where we stand, but we have 3 input sessions. I think that's what I handed out. Maybe I did. Nope, I did not. What I handed out was kind of a Q&A on the backside of what this service provides. But we're going to have 3 Q&A sessions over the next week to kind of explain the service. from the standpoint of it being a quality level air service option for people in this market, but we really need businesses, leisure travelers, others to use this service so that we can continue it into the future and hopefully attract more service in the future as well. Flights will take off about mid-afternoon, come back mid-afternoon, take off late afternoon. And that will be the plan and how they start the service in the future, so. That's all I got.
Did you pick up on Denver Air? Are there a number of communities that they're expanding into? Or are they a new airline? Are they?
They're not as new.
How uniquely?
I don't know how new they are. I don't know how many communities they serve. I know that there are a couple other communities that they serve like us that they're providing direct connections to O'Hare. So we're not first, I think we're like the third. But yeah, they have been around for a bit.
Says the nineties.
90?
Okay.
Okay, is that in the Q&A? Okay. So,
Do they have flight cost at all?
121 one way.
yeah,
I'm not a paid sponsor.
Yet.
and you can book, the benefit of that is you can book through Denver Air, but you can also book through American Delta and United, I think is the other one.
That's what they have in the paper today.
Okay. Or you can book from the flyebq.com website, so, which is what they're encouraging people to do, given that there's several different options. Unless you get points from a major, one airline, we were just talking about that. Then obviously you go through that airline, but there are options for that. That's the nice part of this.
That's good news.
It's a big win.
Yeah.
Use it. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. A lot of information, a lot of great information for us. So really appreciate you bringing that to us and what Greater Dubuque is doing for everybody. So
Thank you for dissecting out the Piasta area data. I mean, I think that's really helpful.
Yes. We'll keep trying to do that.
Yeah.
Can you give me or send me a PDF of
Yes.
everything? Okay,
Yeah.
I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Leanne, are you here? You're with him.
I was here to support him and listen to what was going on
Okay,
today.
I didn't know if you.
I didn't come to do
You're just like, hey, you know what? I've got something too. Here's my sheets. Here's my breakdown.
No, I hadn't planned on anything, let's put it that way.
All right. I didn't want to just ignore it. All right, we'll move on then to administration section. Ordinance approving the rezone of parcels 1411003. Owned by BDC LLC from A1 to C2.
Everybody understands what property we're discussing. Really, this is just a formality. The developer is currently still working on ideas for the use of that property. The good thing to also note, and you've probably already heard that DOT is starting their traffic study of that area. They purchased about 21 acres from Mr. Conlon for the preservation corridor area. And now they are looking at what they're gonna, what would be the best fit for that based on the data that they get back.
The 21 acres are on the north side of the highway,
South
All of
side, well, yeah, on the north side, yeah,
North
the
side.
corner,
so
Yeah, the
21 of
northwest
that,
corner.
of that 80 that were rezoned.
72.
Okay.
He has 72, and
Okay.
then Phil Mikalakis has the other 72.
But we're looking at
Just
his
the two
his
parcels.
272.
Correct.
Okay, so 21 of the 72 is DOT.
21 of the 72,
Plan.
right? So he has about 50 left
Okay.
to develop. And this is your first reading. You know you have the option to waive There has not been any public comment brought back to my attention. I know that there is some concern that, we don't want to rush an ordinance through, but obviously if it's a hot topic or it's something that, we do get a lot of feedback on, then I would recommend that we not suspend the rules and waive the second, third reading.
All the property owners around it get notified, right?
Yes,
So
yes, within 200 feet, so it's very
it's
small.
next door.
Right.
It's next door.
It's not even across the highway, so.
We will need a motion to approve.
The first reading.
First reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance amending zoning for parcels. The numbers are in front of us. 003 and 004 that are owned by B and C LLC.
I'll second.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
Jeff, aye. Motion carries. At this time, I'll ask if the council is interested in waiving the second and third reading.
Guys that have been on the council longer, what's your experience with this? Does it take a while for this information to get out to more of the general public, or is this a
Well, we only
non-issue?
notified 2 people that are 200.
Yeah.
First, we didn't notify anybody.
Nobody sort of knows yet until they,
My thought would be wait
Yeah.
and get it out there, let people hear about this, and then at the next meeting, if we don't hear anything, go with the second.
I'd kind of like to have at least a little more time.
Okay,
for
so we'll bring it
people
back to the
know.
September 10th meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Seems like a great thing.
Right.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know how
But-
anybody
but
will
give
be against it,
everybody-
but we should have an opportunity for the
Right.
public to speak.
Yep,
Yeah.
I believe that's a prudent course.
I like to give options.
Like options.
Next up, resolution, county tax abatement request parcel 144. Request parcel be removed from the tax rolls as required under 5.63 of the Iowa Code.
This property, as well as the remaining property, were brought to our attention because the tax bills were sent out. So we're just doing our due diligence to make sure that we get them off the tax rolls.
And if I read these resolutions right, it goes backwards. Like if there's prior taxes and things that were owed on that, it doesn't become our responsibility.
Correct.
It's abated backwards.
Right, right.
Perpetuity.
Yeah, so this will actually go before the County Board of Supervisors. They relate, their Iowa law dictates that there's not anything that they can do by saying, no, you have to pay them. It's Iowa law. But that's the next step. It goes to them and they approve it. And then it's removed from the tax rolls once it's recorded.
Make a motion to approve, resolution county tax abatement, request parcel, the Spiegel purchase.
I'll second it.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
Jeff, I.
Motion carries. Next up, resolution, county tax abatement request parcel 141526002, water tower, well, and maintenance facility on the south side.
I wanted to also note that I put aerial pictures in there so you could see exactly where the property is being abated.
Very helpful.
For sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution and county tax abatement request for parcel 14153260002.
I'll second. Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
Jeff, I.
Motion carries. Moving on to resolution, county tax abatement request lot 104, parcel 14091860002, Spiegel purchase. Next to the police station.
I know I can't get my thing to update. It's just,
Yeah, mine's been a little slow down.
this is the one that's just right next to the driveway, right? This is the Riley property. Okay,
Yes.
it just loaded for me. Former Riley property, yeah.
This is the Riley property.
Oh, this is the one right next to us.
Spiegel
And that's,
property,
that's the one to the north,
north of the former
Right
Riley.
here by the tennis lane
Yeah, okay.
off of Piazza
By
Street.
By the Piazza Street.
I got the map pulled up too.
I'll make a
You can
motion
see
to
it.
approve county tax abatement request lot 104 parcel 16002.
I'll second it.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
Jeff, I.
Motion carries. Move on to resolution, county tax abatement request parcel 14084760007, Cap Court Lift Station Project.
make a motion to approve the resolution of county tax abatement request for parcel 14084760007.
I'll second.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
Jeff, aye. Motion carries. Resolution county tax abatement request parcel 1408402. Drive lift station project, 12 acres.
That is slow. I'll make a motion for the resolution county tax abatement per request on the parcel 14084020002 Cap Drive Lift Station Project, 12 acres.
I'll second it.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
Jeff, aye. Motion carries. Resolution county tax abatement request parcel 14092577010 Alliance property for the Turn Lane project.
It's where we put the sidewalk, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on that white
Right,
house.
for the new sidewalk portion is.
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution for county tax abatement on parcel 14092577010 on the Lions property.
I'll second.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
Jeff, aye. Motion carries. For citizen comment at this time, Marcy, anybody online? We'll close the citizen comment and I'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
Jeff, aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
Thanks.